You can find From the Dome on iTunes, Podbean.com, and the Podbean app. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, thank you for making us a part of your day. Now, here are your hosts, Augie and Bray.
Hello, hello, and hello again, ladies and gentlemen. We are fresh off of the first college football rankings, and I am staring at Augie in a Scooby-Doo costume as it is Halloween.
Ruh-roh, Bray. Notre Dame is number 3.
That was pretty good. I like that.
Happy Halloween, goblins and goblins.
Happy Halloween to everybody out there. Those of you that are celebrating and trick-or-treating like Augie and a big 6'4" Scooby-Doo.
That's right. Shaggy's getting ready right now.
Who's Shaggy?
Shaggy's my roommate, Carl.
Is your girlfriend Vilma?
Well, my girlfriend's at home, Bray. You remember we don't live together right now. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Velma and Scooby don't date in the show. That's bestiality. That's weird.
Oh, that's true, I guess.
Yeah. So calm it down over there, Bray. No, we're gonna go solve some crimes. We're gonna, Scooby-Doo, where are you? Probably getting drunk at the bar now.
All right. Well, there you go. There's your Halloween entertainment from Augie Farwig, at Augie Farwig on Twitter.
Yeah, at me. Let's go.
Okay, so look, we literally just watched the college football playoff ranking show. It ended 9 minutes ago. Any surprises there? Let's go down the list. Georgia's at 1. That has to be. I mean, I saw a little bit of talk coming up to today that's a very real possibility. You look at some resume stuff. It looks like the committee had to have gone off some resume stuff because Alabama really hasn't beaten anybody. They beat a Florida State team in the first game of the year. That they did have their quarterback for a half or 3/4 of that game. So that says something. That's still a decent win. You can't hold that against them if they lost their quarterback. Well, you can if they had played him after he wasn't playing. But so I guess they've gone off kind of resume because Georgia's, they beat a Mississippi State team pretty bad that had just beat LSU. They beat Notre Dame by 1 on the road. I mean, that's a pretty good win at this point.
Yeah, I think it's definitely off resume. Just looking at it, I mean, you got Georgia, Alabama, 1-2. Obviously, like you said, Georgia, I think, probably deserves to be over Alabama at this point based off who they've played. I think Notre Dame is a clear and cut number 3 based off who they've played and who they're only lost to the number 1 team technically right now. Then you got a Clemson team whose their one loss is to Syracuse. Not a good win, but still a very good football team. Then you got an interesting little 5, 6, 7 here. It's Oklahoma, Ohio State, Penn State, who all have kind of lost to each other in a way.
Yeah.
So I think those 3 are interchangeable at any time. Then you got TCU. Interesting that Wisconsin is down there at 9 at 8-0. You could maybe say they have a case to be above Oklahoma, Ohio State, Penn State. But you know what? It's week 9 right now. It's super early. I know we're going to talk playoffs, but I mean, there's just no speculating what's going to happen right now, especially for the Irish because it's 1 week at a time.
So we've quickly eliminated the word playoff last week, and now it's out the window now with this ranking.
Unfortunately,
we got to talk about it now. So,
yeah, I know.
Okay, so you brought up a question to me, and it was something that they talked about on the show, on the college football playoff ranking show. Georgia, Alabama. They more than likely, well, if all goes to plan at this point, they will be playing each other in the SEC championship game.
Mm-hmm.
So as of right now, they would say if they played that Bama would be a 10-point favorite. So how, you've seen both teams play. To me, Bama's a better team. I mean, they've maybe because I'm just scarred by them, but I just fear the crap out of Alabama. But with Vegas even saying that they'd be a 10-point favorite, and that doesn't say everything in the world, but the consensus, I guess, at this point is that Alabama is better and that the committee went off of a resume type, ranking scenario here. You have any thoughts on that? I mean, you did mention that you said Georgia well-deserved number 1.
Yeah, I think if you go off resume, Georgia deserves number 1. Do I think Alabama's probably the better football team? I think everyone in the nation would say that, but there you can go back to that and say, well, who has Alabama played? I mean, Georgia's played some pretty good teams. But
and they're beating the crap out of people.
Exactly. It's hard to say with like a second string quarterback, which is easily now a first string quarterback. But either way, I mean, it's hard to say. It's week 9. Alabama really hasn't played anybody. Georgia has. They're beating the crap out of people. Alabama's beating the crap out of anyone that walks into Tuscaloosa or wherever they go. I guess the real question is, should the playoff look at resume, or should they look at team skill, or or ability? I don't know how you
Eye
put
test,
it.
type
Yeah,
thing.
the eye test. And either way you go on that, someone's going to have an argument.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, if you go off resume, I think Georgia's the clear winner there. But at the same time, if they played right now, I think Alabama wins that game. Now, the good thing about this is we get to hopefully see this in a couple weeks for an SEC championship game, so that brings up an even interesting point. As this is all going to become a cluster, you already mentioned Oklahoma, Ohio State, Penn State that are right behind. We haven't even mentioned Clemson really at 4 yet, of what impact that has, or this clump of one-loss teams from 8 to 3. What does all this mean? Plus Wisconsin undefeated at 9. Where does this all go, I guess, is the question. And if Georgia beats Bama, obviously Georgia's in. Does that mean Bama's still in because they lost to the number 1 team? Is the fashion of the game? And then what if it was the reverse? What if Bama beats Georgia?
I think that SEC championship game, the loser is going to depend on what the rest of the championship games does. So if you look at it, I mean, Clemson's going to probably play in an ACC championship game, assuming they beat NC State this week and keep going on.
Right.
You're going to have Ohio State, and off the top of my head, I think Ohio State and Penn State are in the same division. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, they are.
Okay, so they're not going to play in the title game, but they're going to play probably a Wisconsin team.
Yep.
So you're going to have Wisconsin, Ohio State, or Penn State playing in that game. And if Wisconsin wins that game, you have to put Wisconsin in, assuming they're undefeated at that point.
Well, that's the question. Yeah.
And so the question becomes, do you put an undefeated or a one-loss Notre Dame team, or an undefeated Wisconsin Big Ten championship team, or a Notre Dame one-loss team in over an Alabama or Georgia SEC one-loss team? I think if it's between Notre Dame and Georgia and Wisconsin, it goes Georgia because of Georgia beating Notre Dame.
Yes, which makes sense. But to me, look, if Notre Dame wins out,
I think we're good, but you never know.
There is no way they could hold us out at that point. I mean, we would have beaten multiple top 25 teams by more than however many points.
I mean, you're looking at a Miami team that's number 10 right now in the rankings that we face still. Stanford, who's, down there at 21, but that's still a top 25 team.
Absolutely. On the road. Those are 2 tough games on the road. Miami, if we win that game on the road, that's a top 10 win on the road, which says everything.
Yeah, and that's as of this week. I mean,
right.
Who knows what could happen this week? Miami might jump the rankings. So.
Well, and they play Virginia Tech this week, so that's a huge game. We really need Miami to get through that game, and it's at home for them. It's the ABC game this week, so we'll all be paying close attention to that. I do not fear Miami really in any which way, shape, or form. I think we could steamroll them. So it is so crucial that they take care of business this week and beat Virginia Tech at home, because if Virginia Tech wins, and not saying that it really takes that much away from Notre Dame, but if it came down to we do win out, and now you have an Oklahoma there. And you're comparing resumes between Notre Dame and Oklahoma, they're very, very close. And, that's where I don't want to get to, So we need a little bit of luck, just like everybody. But, there are definitely some things there as you kind of look down the rankings list and some schedules that could throw a wrench in it. But I have a hard time believing, Og, that if Notre Dame wins out with this downstretch schedule after what they did to USC, NC State, if they can stay on a similar path, I cannot see them not making it.
I'm right there with you. I'm absolutely right there with you. And it goes back to my point I made last week and why I made that rule we can't talk playoff, because it's every week right now for Notre Dame is a playoff. You're literally playing every week to have an opportunity to play in the playoff. Right. And we can sit here and speculate all we want what Penn State, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Clemson, all these teams are going to do. But really, we have to sit back and say it's week 9. You have, 4 more games, I think?
Yeah.
4 more weeks?
Yeah.
And then the conference championship game. So you have 5 more weeks of games for these top 10 teams that matter. It's hard to sit here and say what's going to happen.
Of course, absolutely.
So right now, the biggest thing for Notre Dame is 1 week at a time. You have a Wake Forest team coming in at home this week. Should be able to win. I mean, you're a 14-point favorite. I mean, that you should take care of business. We'll see what the rest of the teams do. I hate to sit here and speculate, but I'm right there with you. Notre Dame just has to win out, and that's why it's 1 week at a time right now.
Yeah, and I think the point I was more bringing up was Notre Dame needs help, and everybody needs help. And there's scenarios every which way that when you play a ranked team, they need to be at the highest ranking when you play them, and therefore possibly beat them. Same thing goes for Oklahoma. Same thing goes for Ohio State. Ohio State, if they can run the table the rest of the way and play Wisconsin, obviously if Wisconsin stumbles and they beat Wisconsin or in the Big 12 or Big 10 championship game, that hurts them, right? So they need Wisconsin to keep going and so that they can beat a possibly top 10 team in the Big 10 championship. Same thing for Wisconsin. They need Ohio State or Penn State to, obviously, at this point it would be Ohio State. They need them to keep winning. Think of this. We just kicked the rails off of NC State. If they were to beat Clemson this weekend, how much better would that make us look? And it eliminates Clemson from that 4 spot, which gives another opportunity for us to make the playoff. So there's a zillion different things that can happen. I know that we can sit here and talk scenarios all night long, but if you think you can quickly go down this rabbit hole. It's like all YouTube rabbit hole. Start clicking on schedules. Start clicking on this. What if this happens? So there's a thrill a little bit to talk about. So I mean, I think the biggest thing is this NC State Clemson game this weekend. If NC State can win that game, that helps us that almost guarantees us to be in if we were to win out. I mean, that would 100% guarantee us to be in if we win out. If we win out now and that doesn't happen, I don't know what that percentage turns into, especially if we have to start comparing resumes with Oklahoma or something along those lines. Or an Ohio State that would beat an undefeated top 10 team in Wisconsin. How good are they? I don't know. There's a huge swirl. There's a whirlwind here going on. So I don't know. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
what were we gonna say? I mean, I was gonna say we're fucking stumbling on each other's words here. I was just gonna say this just makes college football fun.
It does, man.
It makes it so much more fun talking about 4 teams and all these scenarios. And when it was the BCS days, right now, if it was BCS days, it'd be like, well, just gotta wait for Georgia or Alabama to slip up.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is awesome.
Well, if this was the BCS days and we were at this point in the season and you're Ohio State at 6, right? In order for you to make the championship game, which was only 2 at that point, you would have to have Notre Dame, Clemson, Oklahoma lose, and then Alabama, Georgia would have to kind of figure itself out. That's a lot to happen at 6 at this point to get in, to even give yourself a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see? If Georgia beats Alabama by 1 point in the SEC championship game or vice versa, do you see 2 SEC teams in?
I definitely can, yeah. It also depends on, what happens with the other 4 teams that have a chance, but I definitely see 2 SEC teams in.
Yeah.
Just based on the regular season at that point.
I think if it's a 7-point game either way and it's a very competitive game through the whole thing, there's no way that they both aren't in. If it's a SEC championship game, Georgia-Alabama finishes 35-33, no way they're both not in, regardless of who wins.
Right. And that's scary. It's scary to think. I mean, you and I were talking about it, and it's a very irrelevant conversation right now, but who would you rather face, Georgia or Alabama? And I think you and I were both in agreement, Georgia, just because Alabama they're scary. They're scary looking, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We can, even Georgia, I think a lot of people are kind of jumping the gun right now and would say Notre Dame would beat Georgia if we played again. I don't know, man. I think we're both better. I think Georgia hasn't gotten any worse. We haven't gotten any worse. And it kind of blows my mind to hear people say that, at this point, I think we'd beat Georgia by 7 or 10. I think that's kind of crazy. I think it'd be the exact same style of game, Yeah. And who makes the play? Is it us this time or is it them, Yeah. I think we're the same at this point. We're both gotten better. Neither of us have gotten worse really in any facet of the game. And it'd be this exact same game, in my opinion.
It's kind of crazy. You remember talking to what was Derek from the Dogcast
Yes.
before the season, kind of, and he's like, yeah, Kirby Smart's kind of on the old not a hot seat, but yeah, we're kind of still a little questionable about him. We're like, yeah, no, we know how you feel, and now we're both sitting here in week 9, 1-3 in the college football rankings. I mean, who would ever thought that would happen?
I definitely wouldn't have thought that. If Notre Dame beat Georgia, yeah, maybe, but like I didn't really think that the winner of that game had the shot at being number 1 in the country, at any point this year. So it's crazy to think about.
Crazy.
So I think we can agree that this weekend's NC State Clemson game is massive, and we will be watching that and hoping NC State can do whatever they didn't do this weekend and beat a Clemson. So
Yeah, big NC State and big Miami fan this weekend.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about Oklahoma. I've got their schedule up here as I kind of started saying that we could compare some resumes here. So Oklahoma left on their schedule. They go to Stillwater and play Oklahoma State, who's ranked number 11.
Which they are not favorited in that game.
Oklahoma's not?
They are 2.5. According to this, what I'm seeing right now, they are 3-point underdogs, which I think that's just a matter of being on the road.
Which is interesting, It is a matter essentially of being on the road. But at the same time, so think about that. If they can win that game, that's a very good win on the road. Then very next week they play TCU at home. So there's 2, top 11 games that if they can pull those games out, I mean, that's going to be tough to argue that schedule down the stretch and that resume. And assuming they kick the rails off of Kansas, which they will, and West Virginia could be tough as well. I mean, West Virginia's no slouch. It could be a very competitive game. So I guess if it came down to it, and Oklahoma ran the table, beat 11 Oklahoma State, beat number 8 TCU, one-loss team going into the final weekend, and it kind of starts coming down to Notre Dame, and we would have beaten a number 10 Miami and a number 21 on the road in Stanford. Plus, Oklahoma would have a Big 12 championship game, of which whoever they would play in that. So
I believe Iowa State probably is my guess, just off the top of my head.
They're in the other
right?
division. They're leading the other division, Iowa State.
I'm just guessing.
I don't know. Look up the Big 12 standings real quick.
Oh God, you're making me do research. I hate research.
But so thinking there, like, at what point do you start factoring in who you lost to? And that's the question. I don't know how the committee talks about that and deals with that. At that point, Notre Dame's 1 point loss to Georgia has to trump the Oklahoma loss to Iowa State, who had a middle linebacker or some sort of linebacker playing center and a third-string quarterback in that game, favored by 30. I would think that has to have some sort of effect on it. But Oklahoma, to me, as you're looking down the list, scares the crap out of me because of that remaining schedule and Big 12 championship game possibilities.
So I don't think the Big 12 has divisions.
Okay. So it's just top 2.
So it's top 2. So right now you have Oklahoma, OK State, TCU, and Iowa State all at 4-1.
Yeah.
So that's a clusterfuck in itself.
Of course.
So you're looking at probably the winner of Oklahoma State takes the lead this week. Probably tied with TCU. I'm not sure who TCU plays off the top of my head, and Iowa State if they were to win.
Yeah. So they take the top 2 essentially and play them in a championship game.
Yeah. So who knows who will be playing in that game right now?
Well, that's crazy to think about. But so Oklahoma scares me at this point, But again, the possibility of Notre Dame winning out, first and foremost, as we've mentioned a zillion times, we have just win and it'll take care of itself. But if we end up getting to that point, I cannot believe we won't be in. And I don't care if there's 8 SEC teams in front of us. I just think there's a real shot that 2 SEC teams get in, and I think that last spot is going to be between Big Ten champion, Pac-12, or not Pac-12, Big Ten champion, and Big 12 champion. Maybe, I don't know if Pac-12 can sneak in there or not, but I don't know. It's crazy. You're right.
The only thing that hurts Notre Dame and if they win out is not playing in a conference championship game.
And that's the other question: is how much of an impact does that have? That last game.
And I don't think anyone can really answer that question because I think the College Football Playoff Committee changes, their mind or their mindset changes every week. So
yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Well, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. It's going to make these last couple of weeks a nice, enjoyable ride. on this October 31st of 2017, and here we are, ranked number 3 in the country.
Happy Halloween!
Scooby-Doo-Og. So
That's right.
So I don't know, man. It's gonna be fun, but figured we'd get our raw emotions out of the way real quick. I don't know if I was shocked at Notre Dame at 3. I had been seeing some stuff on Twitter, some people saying it's realistic. I don't know. It really didn't matter. I figured they wouldn't be any worse than 5, and they would just play their way in. At this point, you just have to keep up what you're doing, and I again, I don't see how you can't be in.
Remember, like 2 or 3 years ago when we were in the playoff talk? It was the first playoff. And the first playoff ranking came out, and I think we were 5-1, 6. I think we were 7-1 again, and our only loss was to Clemson, and we were ranked like 6th or 7th. And how pissed people were.
Yes, but then we ended up getting to number 4 that year at one point.
Yes, and then we lost, and then we went back. No, we went back to 6, going into Stanford, and lost.
So what year was that? 15.
Yeah.
Okay, so week 15, I got this right here. Let's go to 2015. Let's go to week 15. Is that the conference championship week? Yes, it is. So we need to go to week 14. And we were 8th.
Did we have 2?
That was after we lost to Stanford. Sorry, I'm really butchering this. So week 13 we were 6th at 10-1. We had dropped
because we were like 4 and went down to 6 and then ended up losing.
Right. Week 12 at 9-1, we were at 4. Went to play Stanford on the road, lost, and then dropped, obviously. So
yeah. So if that, take that, Notre Dame fans, to heart. I mean, don't take this for granted. We still have to win out.
Of course.
I mean, it's 1 week at a time right now, and we still have, I would say, 3 very tough games coming up.
Absolutely.
I put Navy in that category because Navy plays us tough every year.
Well, think about TCU. It was a couple years ago that they were number 4, 3 or 4, and they won by 52 on the last week and dropped to 6. I mean,
it's like you don't know what's going through these people's minds on the committee. You just have no idea. And right now, you just have to take care of your own business and let the cards play out how they play. Right now, it's a card game, and there's no skill involved except for your own area, and that's just to win games.
Absolutely. And I think, what we're doing in our scheduling is going to help us too for the future, because as you can see here, they are taking who you're playing, right? And they're saying how you're competing against these top teams. Are you playing the best week 1, week 2? Are you challenging yourself, and how are you faring in those challenges? And I think that's big, as our schedule is built the next couple years to continue to keep us in the conversation if we're able to win. So.
Yep.
Okay. Well, any last playoff discussions you want to talk about real quick before we kind of move on to a recap of NC State?
Just take care of business. Let the cards fall how they fall. Let's do it.
All right. There you go. Wise words of Scooby Snack Og. So I've got our NC State stats pulled up here. I'm sure you can hear my dogs going absolutely ape shit again.
They hear Scooby, Scooby, Scooby-Doo!
Right. So maybe, Og, you can explain us watching the game together this year for the first time.
Yeah, it was a fun day. We got to show my girlfriend her first experience at Notre Dame Stadium, which I will say, you're kind of a cock for. We're sitting in the tailgate lot, and you say, "Yeah, I'm really disappointed in Augie." Straight to her face.
No, I said, no, let me clarify. I was even more of a dick than what you just made me sound. I said, I'm disappointed. I said right to your girlfriend, what's her name? Caroline?
Caroline.
I said, I am disappointed that you're here. That's what I said.
Yeah, straight to her face. No context yet. And I'm like, shit.
Yep.
Okay, let's clarify this real quick. I said, okay. And then you were like, okay, let me clarify. And you're like, I waited 2 years to bring Alexis. He's, 9 months. And then I made the joke, well, 9 months to me is like 9 years. And I don't think she found that funny. So started in the doghouse a little early.
We both were, yeah.
Thank you, Bray. Um, but yeah, we tailgated with the Harlows. Thank you for the hospitality as always. Drank a little bit of their beer after the game. Ate a little bit of their snack before the game. We went to the game. Luckily, you were in your section. We had tickets on the 25-yard line, I want to say. And luckily, 2 seats next to us were open. So you came over and you guys sat with us. I think our girlfriends were a whole lot more feeling good than we were.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the game. But good for them. Good for them.
Well, Alexis
yeah,
pulled the whole drunk card when I'm in line. Okay, first of all, I've never had to pee that bad in my entire life. It was like the tip.
I had a buzzer beater too. But yeah, go ahead.
It was a major buzzer beater, like overtime buzzer beater. Like I was hurting. I did not think I was gonna make it.
I was standing in the porta potty line, and I was probably my original goal was to get to the Joyce and get in that line. And I looked to my right and I saw a line of porta potties, and the line was probably 5-6 deep. I was like, that's probably the best bet right now. I get in line. I'm behind like 4 chicks.
Yeah, you can't do that. Porta potty lines.
I'm not a sexist. I love women, feminism all the way. But you women take so fucking long to pee. I had to switch lines. So I get into like a 6 deep line of like 4 men, 2 women. I'm like, all right, this is a good ratio. I'm holding it. I'm like actively holding it. You know when you got to pee so bad, you literally have to muscle, like keep it in with your muscles.
Yes.
So I'm doing
like you're
that.
like sucking your stomach in.
Yeah, like you were pacing, like you're waddling back and forth. I get next in line and I start to relax, and I'm like, no, don't do that. And I quickly tense up again because I was like, shit, it's gonna come out. And luckily, the woman in front of me took, she was quick, got in there. I mean, I was fumbling with my belt, and it was buzzer beater. But yeah, it was cold. I think that's what made me have to pee so much.
Okay, so Porta Potty 101, again, for anybody listening that doesn't know, you have to find a line with the least amount of women in it. It doesn't matter if the line is double the other one. If there are no women, you're going to be moved quicker.
It's just, I love women, but man, you guys love to take your sweet ass time in the bathroom.
They do. And probably because when they hover or sit down on those things, I hope to God they don't sit down, but when they hover, there's a mirror like right at eye level. So they probably see themselves in there and they're messing around. We never get the mirror.
Exactly. Also, my girlfriend, first time at Notre Dame Stadium, decides literally as here come the Irish, as they're coming out for the kickoff, nudges me, goes, I want a hot dog. And I'm like, and I know
kick off
she
30 seconds away.
I know she wants me to go with me. And I go, okay, go get one.
Wow.
So she leaves, and about, I want to say 6 minutes left in the first quarter, she finally made her way back up. She had texted me once and said, we're in 42, right? And I said, we're in section 26.
Oh, boy.
Row 42. So I think she made a little trip around the stadium, took the scenic route, got her hot dog. When all she had to do was literally, there in our concourse was a bathroom. She could have gone to the bathroom, walked right out, got her hot dog, walked right up the stairs, came up to row 42, came right in, sat right next to me. She would have been there probably for the second drive. No. 35 minutes later, she comes up. I thought I lost her. I thought, well, this is it. Done. Gone.
First of all, there is no section 42, so she would have been looking and walking around forever.
She would have been walking around for a while.
So, yeah. That was, you were telling me that story, we were there, and that was good. But Porta Potty, okay. Porta Potty 101, you've got that down. Okay, you've got the new rule or whatever, or motto to live by. But so I had to pee so bad, okay? And Alexis, I look over, somehow I see a beer on the ground, broken beer bottle. And like I'm sitting there and it feels like I have a clamp on the tip of my wang because it hurts so bad. And I'm sucking my stomach in. I look over and I see beer down and I'm just like, what is going on over there? And you tell me she tried to give a beer to an NC State fan or something?
Yeah, so because we had left the Harlow tailgate, and I knew you were at the porta potty, and our car was past the porta potty. So I said to Caroline and Alexis, I said, here, grab some Bud Lights. Me and Bray need some before we go in the stadium. We'll put the rest in the car. Can you guys help me carry them? Because we had probably like 6 beers, and it's cold. I wasn't trying to hold them all in my hand. So I think Alexis put like 2 in her pocket, Cara put 2 in her pocket, and I think I had 2 in my hands. So we're standing there waiting for you to pee, and some NC State fans walk by, and your pleasant wife, love her to death, can't put those in words as much as I want to, decides to make friends with these guys. I'm like, okay, whatever. And she goes, you guys want a beer? I'm like, wait a second. And she goes to hand them the beer, and I don't think she did this on purpose, but he goes to reach out for the beer, and she literally lets go, and the beer just drops as he's trying to grab it. And it gets all over the place. There's glass everywhere. There's beer everywhere. That's when I knew the women, and Caroline's behind me just laughing, thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. I'm like, all right, the women are feeling good at this point.
So we had a little babysitting to do while we were worried about our peeing issue. So yeah, but it was a good time though. Like you said, we ended up. You had 2 open seats. We actually somehow we both had the seats right next to both of us were open. Yeah. 2 of them.
Yeah.
You know, part of that was probably it was rather cold. Not the worst I've ever sat through, but it was chilly. If you weren't dressed for it, you would have been miserable. So we worked our way over to you and sat down and started watching the game about midway through the first quarter. And you know, the whole punt thing, God, that scared me to start.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole stadium did as that punt was blocked for a touchdown. But I mean, you can't speak to the way that the team really rebounded from that punt. We come down and we throw a touchdown pass to Durham Smythe. A really good pass from Wimbush, I thought. Threw it to the open spot as opposed to the receiver, which I think at times he's struggled with this year. They came down, scored, but that receiver made one hell of a freaking catch. I don't think there's really anything you can do. You'll make the argument, look for the ball. I'll make the argument, it was just a good catch. There's nothing you can do. But from there on, we dominated the game.
Absolutely. We did not let that affect us whatsoever. No, and I thought Brian Kelly made a good point when he was talking at the end of the game. They could have folded there, or that could have really dictated the game. That's a huge momentum swing, especially right at the beginning. So giving up that quick 7, was tough. They were able to gather themselves, and the defense played lights out the rest of the way. I mean, good God, the way why you can be excited about this and this team and where we are in the playoff rankings is because we actually have a defense to go along with this. Think about in 15, we were great offensively. We were very, very average to below average on defense, and we really didn't have any room for error. We couldn't stop Stanford at the end, on that last game. So you can be a little bit more excited and happy about this right now because this defense is beyond legit. We held them under 100 rushing yards, which is think about that for a second. The 6th rushing defense, NC State was, we had 318 yards rushing, okay, against the 6th ranked rushing defense in the country, and we held them to 50 rushing yards. I mean, that is as good as you can think of, and what a stat line to dominate. If you're going to dominate one. And if that doesn't tell you that this team will be successful in the long term this year, assuming that we stay healthy, that is the telltale sign of a successful football team and sustained success at this point.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, and I kind of told you in the stadium right after we were walking out, we dominated the game, but watching the game, it didn't feel like we were playing that well. Special teams was a wreck, I thought.
Special teams was atrocious.
Yeah, I mean, the defense, when you go back and look at the stats and you look at it, okay, yeah, they played pretty well. The offense, yeah, they played pretty well. But watching it live, it's like, man, we could be so much better than we played on Saturday.
Yeah, I got that vibe too, and it was interesting that you said that to me as we were kind of walking out is, we didn't play our best, and we won 35-14 against a very, very solid football team.
We took a freaking knee with 30 seconds or a minute left on the 5.
Right. that fourth quarter drive was as beautiful as anything I've ever seen in my life.
Deion McIntosh was, I think, 3 carries in a row, one missed tackle short from a touchdown.
Yep.
He got tripped up like 3 plays in a row.
Absolutely. He was right there. He could have broke a couple. But that fourth quarter drive was amazing. I mean, you take that much time off the clock and then knee it inside the 10-yard line. I mean,
I think that's more of a backhand than actually scoring.
it might have been. You're right. That might have been more of a slap in the face. I mean, that's a good point. But our defense, again, held them to under 300 total yards. We turned a quarterback that is very, very efficient into a not-so-efficient quarterback, going 17 for 37 for 1 touchdown, his first interception of the year, and it was a pick six.
And you know, we were sitting out inside in the lot after the game, and someone I think said, "Oh, he just underthrew that ball, and that's why it was an interception." But we said before last week, we got to put pressure on him. We got to get him moving in order to make him make mistakes. And guess where that pick came from? We got him moving, and we got some pressure on him. That was absolutely a pressure pick, I thought.
Yeah, well, that whole play was weird because the offensive line never moved. It was the old try to make you come off sides or something. I don't know. It was weird. The offensive line didn't move by design, apparently. So they have 4 or 5 free rushers running at the guy. What's he going to do, you know?
Exactly. I mean,
but the point is last week we talked and said we will turn this guy over. I literally said we will get an interception.
And we did.
And we got a pick
4
six.
Pick six, which was the weirdest pick six I think I've ever watched.
Yeah, explain that one to us, because we had a pretty good angle of it.
We're you and I are standing next to each other. He picks it. We're like, yeah. He picked it. I think it was 3rd down, was it not?
Yeah, I think it was 3rd and like 14 or something.
Yeah, so he picks it. We're hoping for is a 3rd down stop there. The game's somewhat close at that point. He picks it. I'm like, he's got a lane. He's got a blocker. Wait, there's no one No one even came.
No one moved.
In.
Yeah.
What is going on here?
And he's like just jogging behind Dalen Hayes, who's his lead blocker.
He just went for a nice little jog through the neighborhood, had a little lead blocker. It was like watching the president take a little, jog through, Central Park with some Secret Service in front of him.
It was weird.
No one wants to come near, and the Secret Service, if anyone he does, is going to take care of him.
Yeah. It was very weird. Very, very weird. Very slow developing. It was kind of like he caught it. It felt like that return was about 40 seconds long because it was on our sideline. And yeah, so it was on our sideline. We had a pretty good view of him going down. And I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, he's going to go. Like, as he started getting about 10 yards down the field, I'm like, he's going to go. There's no one there. And then it just kept taking forever. And I'm just like, what is going on? It felt like it was a 45-second return for a touchdown.
Yeah, it was one of the weirdest returns I've ever seen, but it was good. It was great.
We're going to take it. We'll take Julian Love's 2nd pick six on the year. So
right.
So we turned a not turnover prone team into forcing a turnover there, which is big. I mean, that just again attributes our defense is as good as it's just an amazing job that Elko's done, and it just keeps raising the question to me. I mean, again, our defense didn't give up a point in the second half. Amazing. Especially from a team that's going to be throwing and playing from behind for most of that. Amazing. So it brings up my question to you, and this is something that's been in the back of my mind all year, is how many years do we really have Elko before he gets a head coaching gig?
So one point I want to make, just to clarify, our defense only gave up 7 points.
That's true.
Okay, so and how many years do we have Elko? And I think I saw a tweet about this, where Brian Kelly Matty said something, and he said he thinks he could be a head coach right now.
I agree.
It might have been about someone else, but I think it was about him. And I think I agree with that 100%. So I think I'm nervous. If we have him next year, I'm happy. I'm lucky. 2 years, he's gone.
Yes, I'm leaning towards he's here again next year. Like maybe he's going to get some looks, but it's going to be, he's going to have to go replace Lane Kiffin at Florida Atlantic or something, like small tier job like that, or go to UConn, whatever job comes open that's that level is kind of what I'm saying. So I think he sneaks through next year.
I'll make an offer to him right now.
For Ball State?
Yeah, Ball State. Yeah. I mean, we are struggling.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could use him for sure. I mean, he'd change that culture.
We gave up 57 points to Toledo last week.
Did you hire Van Gorder? Is he a defensive consultant for you?
Honestly, I think I saw him on the sidelines. It might have been.
I still think it's hilarious that when we were talking to that Georgia guy at the beginning of the year, how much he loved Van Gorder and was so happy when they hired him last year midseason as a defensive consultant.
So it's Halloween, right? I think 2 years ago, 2015 season actually to be exact. I decided for Halloween to be Brian Van Gorder. Grew the goatee out, grew the mustache. How fucking stupid do I look?
Now you're just Scooby-Doo, man.
Now I'm just Scooby-Doo.
So I think Elko, I think he sneaks in next year somehow. And I think there's no way he's here for a third year. There's zero chance. But the thing I will say about Elko is with Wake Forest coming in this week, that is still a team that mirrors some of the principles that he's talked about, and that's still a very solid defensive team. So the culture that he built there for however long he was there still it resides in whatever coach took over. Could have been somebody within the program or whatnot. All those characteristics are still there. So maybe we get an extra, whatever year he leaves, we get an extra year of kind of Elko mindset type stuff. It's just interesting to think about.
Yeah, and I mean, he's been a blessing in disguise. I mean, I don't think we thought that this was going to be such a culture change and a culture shock and a change in the defense. But I think you're right. If we have him, I think if we have him next year, I'm happy. I'm very happy and feeling lucky.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to have him a year after that, I think the guy's just stupid and doesn't want to be a head coach.
Well, fine, stay here for the rest of your career, Mike Elko.
Sure, absolutely.
But
be the head coach in waiting for all I care.
Yes, exactly. Swarbrick could do the best thing he's ever done in the history and give him a head coach in waiting contract.
Yeah. Also, did you know? I think it was either yesterday or today. This day in history, Notre Dame at 5-2 offers Charlie Weiss a 7-year extension.
7 games into his Notre Dame career.
At 5-2.
Yeah, that's not our brightest moment. Think about that. How long ago was that? 7 years?
I think it was 05.
It was more than that because BK's. This is what, year 8 under BK.
But no, Charlie was only here for 4 years.
Yeah. We're in year 8 of Brian Kelly.
It was 05. It was 05.
Yeah. So think about that. From 05 to now, we made that mistake, and then it took us this long to get back here based off of that. That's crazy to think about. But
thanks, Charlie.
I think the biggest thing that Elko did, what amazes me the most is the way how poor tacklers we were last year on defense and so out of position. Like, I figured we would be in more position, okay? And yeah, we can be ball hawks, and that stuff you can kind of learn, I think, rather quickly. But like the way that we changed our tackling is just amazing to me. With how poor we were last year at it, and really any year under Van Gorder, how quickly he turned that around is amazing to me. So,
yeah, and I think it came down to fundamentals. I don't think the fundamentals were being taught,
no.
to where they needed to be, and I think Elko came in, stressed fundamentals, and then the scheme was second. With Van Gorder was all this complex scheme. I feel like, without being there, I can't absolutely say. With Van Gorder's defense, I feel like our guys probably spent more time in the film room than, on the practice field.
Well, they spent a lot of time doing something other than being in position, I can tell you that.
Exactly. So take Van Gorder's scheme and shove it up your goatee.
Well, I wish he would have, somebody obviously had to have told him that he can't rock that nasty mustache. I just wish he would have just kept that. That would have made it a little bit more enjoyable at least.
Yeah, and he had one good moment at Notre Dame, okay? One good moment. And that's the gif of him in the Michigan game coming out with just 2 fists rocking.
Yeah.
Forever live in peace, that gif.
That was his moment, and that was a long time ago.
That was his peak.
He peaked against Michigan, a terrible Michigan team.
You peaked at a gif.
Yep.
Van Gorder. You peaked at a gif.
Well, Georgia fans think he's awesome. So go ahead, go over there.
We should petition for him to go to Georgia now.
Yeah, Kirby Smart. There's your new D coordinator right there.
There you go. We got it set.
So Brandon Wimbush, we talked briefly about this after the game Saturday. We're pushing the ball downfield vertically. Now, are we completing all those? No. We both, I think, agreed as we were talking about this a little bit. I think it's a relatively easier fix than a lot of people are giving it credit for. We have guys open. We had Boykin open. He just got held. We had Equinemius open. He can't catch the ball. We had Stefferson open. He just overthrew a couple people, and I think that that's relatively fixable in a short period of time.
I absolutely agree with you. I think there were 3 plays off the top of my mind and they're the ones you highlighted, that he missed a throw. And I think the Stefferson one was a little bit Stefferson's fault as well. I don't think he timed the ball up very well. He had it, and then he took 2 more steps or 1 more step, and it was like he overran the ball almost. But that's also on Brandon because he's got to put it a little, he's got to put him on the run. I do think it's an easy fix. I think we haven't really pushed the ball like that vertically all season. So all of a sudden we come, week 8.
We took 3 or 4 shots there.
Yeah, and we come in week 8 and take 3 or 4 shots. I mean, we really can't expect, game speed and practice speed are 2 different things. We can sit here and say you got to practice like you play in a game, but who honestly says that practice speed is the same as game speed? You're stupid. So he might complete that pass in practice 4 out of 5 times. Put it in game speed, it's a little different. I think now that he's had it in game speed, he gets that feel. He sees, okay, I'm overthrown a little bit. I'm a little too juiced. I think that's an easy fix just by doing it in a game. And we go on, and he's got that game experience.
Too juiced might be a good way to say it because he overthrew everybody, and it wasn't by much. It's nothing that you're just looking at and saying he can't throw at all. What you saw last weekend was he just missed a couple guys. And does it need to be fixed? Yes, because we need to hit those and we have to take advantage of those opportunities. But they're going to be there, especially with this running attack. So, I think it's a more of a relatively simple, quicker fix than others. But that's just based on what I saw, and I saw it live, and whatever that means, But I think he just missed a couple guys, and it has to be fixed, and he needs to get better. He needs to get about 50% on those deep balls, and we'll be in good shape. But one hot take I want to say on Brandon Wimbush is he's got 3 years, 2 after this year. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. He's obviously not going pro next year. Then that last year, if he makes some decent strides next year, is that question. Does he come back? I think, and I sincerely mean this, that if he stays healthy, he wins a Heisman Trophy at Notre Dame.
Are you willing to put your sex on that?
So if Brandon Wimbush is not a Heisman Trophy winner, I have to get a sex change?
And I get to name the girl you.
God, I don't know if I would do if we were legitimately doing that. I don't think I could do it. I'd bet you $100 right now. I would do that.
No, because I want him to do that. Okay. I don't know.
So you would rather him? So wait, let me get this straight. You would rather him fail and see me become a woman?
Well, absolutely. I think any Notre Dame fan would say, I think Brandon Wimbush would say, yeah, I'll give up my Heisman for that.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't go that far, but I think he wins a Heisman at Notre Dame. If he stays for the next 2 years, he wins a Heisman.
Okay. I don't disagree. I don't agree, but I don't disagree. I think he has a very good chance. It's just a matter of what's around him.
So let's segue right into our Heisman Trophy candidate, Josh Adams. What's that? What is
trucking?
Dude, that is a heck of a Heisman campaign. And they are all in on it. Like the Jumbotron's in.
Yeah, after that run, the Jumbotron was, and then they did the Adams. I was like, Jesus Christ, this seems like a fucking commercial.
Yeah, they're swinging from his balls. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're hoping. I feel like the Heisman Trophy must bring some money into the university. They're putting some money into that.
Well, they're putting effort in. I mean, for sure. I mean, I love it though. That 33 trucking. I want a hat so bad. Can they make some shirts?
I thought they were, and then Jimmy said he went to the bookstore and they weren't there, so I was a little surprised by that.
I don't know. Can they? Is that legal? I mean, I'm sure there's some NCAA rule that we can't.
I was surprised they could even market it. Honestly.
Well, there's no. that's the thing, is there's no real likeness to it. It's just a number and says trucking. I mean, we know exactly who they're talking about, but I don't know. I guess the same would go for a T-shirt, but they're not, as long as they don't sell anything like that, it's probably fine. Because Josh Adams, if I was Josh, I'd sue the crap out of Notre Dame if they did that.
Right. Yeah, you're probably right. But yeah, 33 trucking. What a little thing. But yeah, what do you got to say about that?
Well, I mean, I was just gonna say, dude, against the number 6 rushing defense in the country, a front seven that is getting national attention, and people, they're not messing around, and people were very much taking NC State's defensive line seriously. And here was our next test. We just kicked the crap out of USC, controlled that game against those athletes, and here's these athletes that are very good, very well coached, and in the top 10 in rush defense. And Josh Adams goes 27 for 202 yards and a touchdown with his long of 77. It was just beautiful.
It was. And do you remember what I said to you literally 3 seconds before that run?
I think you said something like he's going to break one if he keeps going.
No, I said we're hitting that mid-game lull because it was like right after the second half, and we're kind of just like, eh. And I said we need a big play, and literally the next snap, see ya.
Untouched, 77 yards.
Even get touched.
So here, career high for Josh Adams in carries at 27, and boy was I ever wrong to this point of when I brought up the durability issue and said he can't carry the ball 27 times a game because he's going to break in half. And these last couple of games, man, is he not only lasted the whole game, but he carried the ball 27 times for a career high in this game for 202 yards. So I am more than happy to be wrong about that and willing to admit that. Obviously, we hope that sustains itself down the stretch, but it's crazy, man. I was looking through some tweets, some Twitter stuff, and some of these teams that we play down the stretch are like in the worst half of college football in terms of rushing defense. So this could get ugly for some of these teams down the stretch.
Let's hope it gets ugly. I'm hoping it gets ugly real quick.
So Josh Adams has 4 rushing touchdowns, or 4 straight games with 70-plus yard rushing touchdowns. Think about that for a second. 4 straight.
4 straight games with 70. That's just
with
he's a
one
big play
70-yard touchdown run.
He's a big play guy.
Unbelievable. So this is an even more amazing stat that I saw. Pete Sampson tweeted, Josh Adams now accounts for 21.1% of the rushing yards allowed by NC State on the season.
I did see that. That's pretty crazy.
Oh, my God. That is unbelievable. So, look, Heisman, he's a legitimate contender. He's going to be in New York at the end of the year. Does he have a real chance of winning? I don't know. Barkley. See, this is the thing. Barkley is such a multi-purpose guy. You can look here, and one of the tweets that I saw and I favorited so that I could bring up here was Barkley had 44 rushing yards versus Ohio State. Adams had 200 against the 6th-ranked rush defense. But how many receiving yards did Barkley have? Because he's all-purpose. He's returning kickoffs for touchdowns. He's catching 8-9 balls a game. It's just one of those things. The conversation, I guess, just has to continue, and you go down the stretch of the last couple of games of the year, and Brian Kelly said it best. Do you please vote for the Heisman at the end of the year? And look, honestly, I don't think that he's better than Barkley and really has a shot to win. I think Barkley at this point deserves it. He's the best player in college football, and it's just one of those things. He's caught in a year where there's just another special player, and he's getting a little bit late into the talks of the Heisman race. So, but this defense as a whole and Josh Adams, I mean, it's a different team. It's a fun team to watch. We kind of look forward and move into Wake Forest a little bit, and as we kind of mentioned that Mike Elko and the vision that he had while he was there, clearly remains as they're still a solid defensive team. You move into this weekend and you just got to say you got to keep taking care of business. And where are we? Can we continue this path? Can we sustain this success and beating these teams? I mean, we are kicking the absolute crap out of teams, which is unbelievable at this point. Notre Dame has won 6 straight games by 20 or more points for the first time since 1966. I mean, that is unbelievable. And they have a shot to tie that record. The current record is 7 straight by 20 points or more. And they have a legitimate shot against Wake Forest if they can just. Wake Forest isn't that great offensively, so I think that they can, they can hold them to the point where all we have to do is score 30, maybe, But to even get to the point where we're in the conversation of that we've won 6 straight games by 20 or more points under Brian Kelly, you would have never imagined that in the last couple of years. We also have 3 wins over current AP ranked foes. The rest of the top 10 has a combined, the rest of the top 10 combined has 7. So we're beating teams, and we're beating teams bad, and are especially on the road by 20 plus points. So it's just an exciting time to be a Notre Dame fan. We got to soak this in. Can't get too high, but at the same time, man, I'm kind of living this up.
You just gotta appreciate everything that is going on right now. Don't take any moment for granted as a Notre Dame fan right now, because think about where you were last year right now. We were on the hashtag Fire Brian Kelly train. There were people taking ads out in the local newspaper to fire Brian Kelly.
Insane.
Now you could probably pay an alum to, get on his knees for him. So it's just crazy how things have changed. I don't want to get too hype about it, but it's hard to do. This team.
It's fun, man. It's different. It's got a different feel.
It is, and it's like a 2012 feel, but it's more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we actually have an offense, right? We have a defense that's in the same conversation. Are we better this year? I don't know, but we're taking the ball away all the time. But our offense is so much better. We don't have a redshirt freshman quarterback going in there, and if this team played Bama that year, it'd be, I don't know. That's going way back in the.
We lose
vault.
like 13, not 30.
Yeah, exactly. But it's definitely got a different feel. So
I agree with you. I agree.
I saw another interesting tweet before we went on the air tonight that from ND Fan 80 about the current playoff rankings. Think about this for a second. His tweet said, "A win over Notre Dame gave Georgia a slight edge over Bama." Think about that. I mean, that's pretty cool to think about and say right now.
But you also look at who Bama's played, and it's like,
I don't care. Did you hear what I just said?
I know, but great. Okay, so a win over us made them better than Bama. Let's beat Bama, and then I'll be happy.
Or we could just beat Georgia, and that would have been even better.
True, but we can't be beggars, can't be choosers. We gotta do what you gotta do.
I'm with you. Hey, just again, I think Augie's point of take this in and don't take it for granted, because when Golson came back after suspension and we lose to Florida State on a tough one on the road and just spiral out of control, it could go that way in a second, and you just never know, right? So don't take this for granted and enjoy this time, and hopefully we can we can sustain this success. But I don't think we're going to go too deep into Wake Forest other than the little bit that we talked about. Other than, I don't think we really have much of an issue this weekend. As long as we're mentally there and can stay up for the game and don't have a little bit of a layover, I guess, if you will, I think we're fine. Any kind of closing arguments here from you, Og?
As to Wake Forest?
Or just anything in general, any last couple things to get off your chest before we wrap it up?
No, you got to take care of business, and I think we do that this week. I don't see Wake Forest posing a problem to us.
So I need to get the heck off of here because my wife is out of town. My office door is closed while recording this podcast, as you've heard my dogs bark. I don't know what in the world they've destroyed, but I have a horrible feeling that something is very broken.
I have a feeling your couch is in 3.
I hope not, man. We just got that couch and it wasn't cheap.
But all right, well, yeah, let's sign this thing off, huh?
All right, well, so signing off on this October 31st of 2017.
Ooh.
Augie is Scooby-Doo. Open the show as Scooby-Doo. Notre Dame opens the 2017 college football playoff rankings at number 3 in the country. Keep this, sustain this. We'll talk to you next week. We'll see where we are. Have a great weekend, and please, Augie at Augie Farwig on Twitter, at Brabules34. Our podcast is at From the Dome 1842. Please find us on iTunes. If you need us anywhere else, or it's more convenient for you to listen anywhere else, let us know. We'll get it added there. Appreciate any feedback you give us, and if you what's the best form of promotion, Augie?
Tell your friends.
Word of mouth. There you go. So any way you can tell your friends and spread the love, we appreciate it very much. And we're signing off. Go Irish.
Go Irish!
Pop a bottle for the girl with no boyfriend. Drink it all, we don't care. We just order more and light a blunt for the team, cause we all here. Take a hit and make a hit. Nigga, this is our year. In the game like a playbook, zoning out. No idea where we're going. One day we will figure out. Everything was meant to be. Don't trip, it's only bitter now. Life is just a bitch, but don't you worry. I will sit her down. Tell her bring the ketchup. These weenies need a dressing. I ain't worried about your hustle, boy. Why you keep on pressing? Let me live, cause I will die if I don't sit and drink my dreams. A little bit, a little more, a little this. She the reason you just up here at the show, right? I bring your girl out and she can stay the whole night. If this the good life, I'm aiming for a better one. You're shooting for the stars, boy. You gon' need a better gun. Cause tonight, homie, we don't give a shit, man. That's your girlfriend, can I be your girl's friend? Go, drink it all and then some. We gon' burn it all, don't worry about your income. Cause tonight, homie, we don't give a shit, man. That's your girlfriend, can I be your girl's friend? Go, drink it all and then some. We gon' burn it all, don't worry about your income. Over here, we only really party with the baddest. And with you is when she turns into an actress. Showing up, you know what? We gon' do this damn thing. Roll it up, smoke it up, it's pulling like a hamstring. Crew neck, snap back, mixing on my wrist, man. I am not a hipster, sister, I just do some hip things. Every night is mine, it's Christ. Boy, I pray to God and I did not sell my soul. I just gave him all we got. See, this Jaeger got her giddy. Better tell her about my city and that Diddy shit. We smoke a puff, a cloud of something biggie. I'm 20 years young, living reckless with my friends. And if you forgot your wallet, just tell Ralph he got the spends. Waiting for that night, yeah, I think about it all. It's a red carpet moment when these lights begin to call. Me and my girl chilling, smiling with a pose. We just looking at the camera, hoping everybody shows. Cause tonight, homie, we don't give a shit, man. That's your girlfriend, can I be your girl's friend? Go, drink it all and then some. We gon' burn it all, don't worry about your income. Cause tonight, homie, we don't give a shit, man. That's your girlfriend, can I be your girl's friend? Go, drink it all and then some. We gon' burn it all, don't worry about your income. Cause tonight, homie, we don't give a shit, man. That's your girlfriend, can I be your girl's friend? Go, drink it all and then some. We gon' burn it all, don't worry about your income.